Get down. What the? It's my time to go.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. I've been covering different platformers on the channel recently, and one of the most underrated ones that I've been a fan of is definitely Rayman. I feel like he just deserves a lot better, especially since he was Ubisoft's mascot for like a long time before the rabbids took over and he basically faded away. It's been 12 years since his last game, so I wanted to make a video about his games, what I like about each one, how he got less popular over time, and what's going to happen with him in the future. Let's get into it. So to start off, I think it's interesting how Rayman 1 came out in the state that it did. I'm not trying to say that the game is bad or anything, hell no, I actually think Rayman 1 is pretty fun. But at the time that it came out, a lot of games were going over to 3D, and 2D games were starting to become outdated in a lot of studios' eyes. Nintendo had their first 3D Mario game coming out the next year after Rayman 1 came out. Same with PlayStation and with Crash Bandicoot coming out the same year. Sonic was kind of moving towards a 3D game, but we wouldn't really see anything like that until Sonic Adventure came out. Though it's just worth noting that Sega did think the same way as many other studios. So to have Rayman 1 be a 2D game instead of a 3D one was definitely a risk, but it paid off in the end. A lot of people enjoyed this game, and even though the difficulty is insane, people still look back on it with nostalgia. This kept on going with Rayman 2, and this time it was actually 3D with a really good story, and the platforming was really good too. I think people think of this game being the best of the trilogy, to be honest, and I can see why. Ubisoft never really thought of keeping the same vibes with this game going forward, and it's kind of a letdown, to be honest. Rayman 3 came out a few years afterwards, and even though people think that the story is more lighthearted and the jokes are kind of hit or miss, this is the game that I grew up the most with, so maybe I've got nostalgia bias too, but I think that this is the best of the trilogy. The combat is a major step up from Rayman 2 for me, and even though I mentioned before that the story is more lighthearted than Rayman 2, near the end of the game it does start to get more serious, which I also like as well. Just showing how the themes change throughout the game is therefore cool to me. Even though fans did look back at Rayman as being a solid platformer, this would kind of change with the rabbids being included in the minigame Rayman Raving Rabbids. At first this was fine, the spin-off featuring Rayman isn't really a big deal, and the game is really fun too. But behind the scenes, things were a lot different. This game was supposedly meant to be Rayman 4, with the developers planning for the rabbids to be enemies in the game. It was going to carry a lot from Rayman 3, and there was even a proof of concept video as well as like a commercial for it on the Nintendo Wii, basically giving us more of a look into what it could have been. Now obviously this didn't really work out in the end, and instead the rabbids games kept on coming out, eventually dropping Rayman from them completely. Fans were kind of upset about this, and rightfully so, since it felt like Rayman was dropped from Ubisoft, instead having them focus on the rabbids. It took a few more years, but we did get another Rayman game, though it wasn't really what people were expecting at first. People thought it would be a new 3D game, but instead Rayman Origins was revealed as like a soft reboot or a prequel to the first trilogy. In the end though, this idea was scrapped and it was instead a sequel to Rayman 3. Rayman Origins ended up selling a ton, and it was favoured from both the fans and casuals. This built up to Rayman Legends releasing in 2013, with it also being received the same as Origins. People really like these games, so it only made sense to continue with this, but this isn't really where things went to plan. Like I said before, you'd expect another Rayman game to be made after this, but this just wasn't really the case. Michel Ancel, the creator of Rayman, was butting heads with Ubisoft over creative differences, and there were also a lot of allegations about Ubisoft as a company that surfaced over the years. This ended up with Ancel leaving Ubisoft in 2020, and since then there wasn't really any hope that there would be a new Rayman game, up until Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope added Rayman in as a DLC. This was the first time we were actually able to see Rayman in a 3D game in years, and it gained a lot of popularity because of that. There was also a show called Captain Laserhawk that also had Rayman star in it, which also added to the popularity. Right now, a lot of fans are wondering what's next in store for Rayman. Is he really gonna get a new game from all this hype or no? Well, not too long ago, Ubisoft made an official statement saying that they're exploring different ideas for a game with the Rayman IP, with Michel Ancel coming back as a consultant on this. This is kind of shocking to me since I didn't think Ubisoft would consider working with him after the bad blood that they had with each other. Either way, I don't really think all hope is lost, and there should be something Rayman related coming out within the next year or so. Thank you all for watching through the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe for future uploads, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.